Evan Rachel Wood. Westworld's been nominated for 43 Emmys in just two seasons. What's that been like, your two nominations, but also just the overall success of the show there?
It's been incredible. I think every single person that works on it goes way above and beyond the Call of Duty, and it's a show that's made with such passion and heart and a lot of hard work. So to see that reflected back is pretty incredible. And I know it's incredible for the rest of the cast and crew as well.
Yeah. And over those two seasons, you've gone from wide-eyed, innocent prairie girl to woman on a mission to destroy all of humanity.
Is that her mission? I mean, do we know exactly what her mission is yet?
I guess. Well, can you shed some light on where where Dolores is now? Where that journey has taken her over two seasons?
Oh, it's been such a ride, and it's been a ride to go on with her. It was hard this season to sort of let go of Dolores from the first season because she was so pure and so open and sweet, and this one was much darker. But that other Dolores that we know and love is still in there and occasionally comes out in flashbacks. I think she's an amazingly complex character for a number of reasons, but one also because, especially in this season, starting understanding the fact that she can change personalities, she can evolve, she can feel, she can manipulate, she's capable of so many more things this season than we knew of last. So as an actor, that's really exciting because that means sort of on a whim, you could be a different person at any time. So you get to channel a lot of different things into a show like this, which is fun, but really challenging because we're not allowed to, know all of the storylines up front or exactly what's going to happen to our characters or exactly where things are going. And Dolores this season was very much on a mission. It was a very specific one, and that I wasn't even always privy to as we were doing the show. So it's almost like when you play a musical instrument and you want to be such a master at it that on a whim you can change it up at any time, if you're working with another musician or something. And that's kind of how it is on Westworld, which is why I think they got the best of the best in every field, because you have to be able to change on a dime with whatever is thrown at you. And there's no time to dilly-dally. We're basically doing 10 movies in 6 months. But we're also creating while we're doing it, because we're finding things along the way. We're changing things along the way. I'll do a scene. I'll do one take like season 1 Dolores. I'll do another take like full Wyatt. I'll do another take that's sort of a combination of both. Then we'll find moments to slip in and out of each character. And on screen after that, it looks like this really flawless ballet almost, when it's all been so carefully constructed with me and the other cast members and the directors and the showrunners. It's fun. It's like nerd camp. It's like doing
What do you think, Evan, is the thing that Dolores has learnt? Like, if you would ask Dolores, what have you learnt over the past 2 years, or whatever period of time it is, what have you learned over the course of the series? What do you think she'd say?
She's learned some really hard truths. And I think that's what she is wrestling with a lot in season 2 is, I think she saw the beauty in the first season. She had a lot of hope, and probably a lot of hope for humanity. And season 2, now that she's aware of everything, now that she's self-correcting, she's making her own choices, I think she's realizing that the situation is a little more dire and a little more, I don't want to say hopeless, but I think she's weighed the odds, and the odds are she's not going to get out of this unless she does what she does. And she's being held hostage. She's a slave. She wants her freedom. And so I don't think her main objective is world domination or to destroy humanity. I don't think she wants to be doing those things. She's not a sociopath that's just, on a killing spree for fun. I think when she looked at everything objectively, this was the path to freedom and to winning, and to leaving the park. And I think that's what was really interesting about her character this season, is that, she wasn't just a mindless villain, but sometimes she had to play that role to get the job done, or to intimidate, or to lead an army. But I think we see in moments in season 2 that she still has her core programming. She still has that Dolores from the first season that is feeling everything that she's doing. So I'm curious to see where she goes in season 3. Maybe when she's allowed to let that guard down a little more. And, obviously she'll be in a much more vulnerable situation, but I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm starting to theorize. I'm starting to spout theories now. This is what happens when you talk about Westworld. You just start to go off into theory land.
Yeah, definitely. What, Evan, is the thing that you've learnt the most from putting, for your 2 years on Westworld?
Westworld's been an endurance test, and I can't help but describe it as being a contestant on Chopped, but filming an entire TV series. It really keeps you on your toes. 5 years experience, so I can take things as they come, and sometimes switch characters mid-sentence. But it's also, it's given me a lot of respect for what I do. It's inspired me in new ways. The writing on the show has inspired me. The characters on the show have inspired me. Lisa Joy and Jonah Nolan, I think, are two incredibly brilliant, gifted storytellers. And it's made me invigorated and empowered, and it has shown me a strength in myself that I didn't know I was capable of, or really had it. But I've loved the show for that reason, because it has pushed me, and didn't just, I don't know, put me in kind of the same categories that a lot of roles can do, and you can kind of feel like your wings are clipped. This was like somebody had opened the door to the cage, and I just got to fly out and expand, and because there's so much to play with this character and on the show. And I love that it incorporates so many different elements: science fiction, philosophy, quantum physics, now that we're in season 2, different realms, different realities. And the show not only challenges the people that work on it every day, but I think the viewers as well. And it makes us ask deep, meaningful questions about our existence. And again, it's nerd heaven for me, and I think for the people that watch it. But it's been a wonderful family to be a part of, because everyone's heart is really in the right place. And I think we're really trying to do something groundbreaking and different, and something that really means something. And especially now, it seems like the perfect storm, and that this is the perfect time for the show. And, going to this new age of technology, which is just getting more advanced by the minute. I think it's only going to become more and more relevant. So again, I'm happy to be on the train, and to see not only where the show goes in the next few years, but where we're going to go as a species.
Yeah. And yeah, like, it is interesting, like how the show is very timely and speaks into sort of growing technologies and things like that. I also think Dolores is an interesting character in terms of, as you said before, sort of exploring freedom that she hasn't explored before. And maybe this season 2, we've seen a voice and for people, the robots, or whatever you want to call them, the hosts that haven't had a voice in the past. At the same time, we're in the real world, we're seeing a lot of people speak up who haven't spoken up before as well. How do you think it's most pertinent in speaking to our times, Westworld?
Well, my experience, I mean, when we were filming season 2 is when Me Too broke, and you couldn't help but draw parallels between this sort of robot uprising and this sort of, you know, revolution that we were seeing, especially with women. But I also feel like it speaks volumes to any group that has been repressed or oppressed. Anybody that's had to fight for rights, anybody that has had to fight for freedom. And I feel like these are issues that are at the forefront of everything right now because we are evolving and because the game is changing and we're having to redefine a lot of things and have new conversations about old topics because we're just in a different place in our development now. And it has been amazing to watch that unfold while being a part of a show that's very much a metaphor for that. But it was difficult. It was really difficult to play sort of a hero slash villain in the midst of all of that. And I think a lot of us were shell-shocked a lot of the time when we were on set. And a lot of people say that the villain is really fun to play, but I disagree. Especially on a show like Westworld, where because it is dealing with certain elements of violence and things that we certainly don't want to glorify, it's a really real look at a revolution and the brutal side to that and the brutal honesty of that. And there are heroes of war, but that doesn't mean blood hasn't been shed. And that's a hard reality. I think a lot of people glorify or want to sugarcoat, but that's what it is. And so even though I knew why Dolores was doing what she was doing and what she had to overcome and why she was fighting, it was sometimes still very hard to do those scenes because I'm just not a violent person. So having to go there and having to go in this sort of Joker anarchist chaos theory mindset, it was a lot. It was a lot because what we try to do on the show is have fantastical elements, but to act them and portray them in a very real way. You know, so that was really interesting and hard. And I need to go to like a decompression chamber after every day driving home to come down off of it. But yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely. And is there anything? What is the funnest thing though about working on this show? Because I imagine, as you just said, it is quite a draining experience.
It is. It is in every way. You know, what we're doing emotionally is already so intense, and then you put the element of that of animal stunts, and then the desert, which is the actual desert. It's very difficult. It's very demanding. You know, we're climbing mountains, we're riding horses, we're in extreme heat or extreme cold, all hours of the night. We're also conjuring up all these crazy emotions. But because of all that, it brings people together in this incredible way. Because if you're in the trenches together, you know, you're going through a lot, spiritually, emotionally, physically. So the laughter on the set is incredible because we all have to take care of each other. We all have to keep morale up, keep our spirits up. and enjoy the ride, because what we're doing at the end of the day is absolutely incredible. And the places we get to go and the moments that we all take when we take a step back and we look at what we're doing and we think about what the show means. I feel so bonded to all these people. And I love my cast so much. I adore the cast. There's not a bad one in the bunch. And I think they're all giving such standout performances, and maybe they don't stick out because everyone across the board is giving these incredible performances. But they all stand out to me. And I think the horses. The horses are one of the most fun things. I've been writing since I was a kid. I grew up in North Carolina. So it's never a bad day at work when, you know, you're in a sand dune on horseback with Ed Harris, you know, as this warrior, goddess, cowboy, villain, robot. It's really, no matter how hard things get, at the end of the day, the final product is so epic that we all eagerly come back for more.
They say, Evan, that you haven't ridden a horse if you haven't fallen off. Have you ever fallen off a horse?
I did not. No. I've come close on other projects.
Yeah. No. Ever in your life have you ever fallen off a horse?
No, I haven't fallen off a horse in my life, but once I put my foot in the stirrup and the horse took off running. Yeah. And anybody who rides a horse knows if your foot's caught in the stirrup and the horse is running, it's like incredibly dangerous and scary. And I don't know what came over me, but as the horse was running, I grabbed onto the saddle and then pulled myself up and then got on the saddle and stopped the horse and managed to turn around. So at one point I was hanging by two hands and one foot on a galloping horse, like full speed. That was when I was like 15. So it was good training for Westworld.
Yeah, have you told the guys at Westworld this? They could save some money on the stunt people.
Well, we have incredible wranglers on the show, and the horses that we're using on the show are the same ones that we've been using as pilots. We know their different personalities. And we love the wranglers. And honestly, I've never felt unsafe doing the show. Everything that we're doing, and it's most of the time the actual actors, unless it's a really crazy stunt, obviously. But even then, sometimes it's still us. But I'd say that would be the most fun, and definitely a shout out to the wranglers, to the incredible horses that we have, because they're pros. They're pros.
Is there a horse that you ride more on the show? Is the Dolores horse?
Yeah, they have horses that are for us that we know, that know us. And because I have been riding so long, they purposely put me on a horse that is slow, that you really have to kick to get to go, because they know I'll take off.
What's it called? What's the name of your horse?
My horse, my buckskin, the first season was Bucky, and my black horse this season was Blackie. Very clever names. I know. Incredible horse. Bucky is a little more of a diva, but they're good.
A few quick questions to end. You chose the reunion episode, the second episode, to submit for lead actress. Why did you make that choice?
I loved that episode, and I loved it specifically for Dolores's arc, because it's when we realize she's already been to the real world. We get to see what some of those experiences were like. We're in so many different timelines with her. We also get to see every sort of incarnation of Dolores. You know, there weren't any real crazy emotional crying scenes in it, but I felt like what I liked about it and about the work that I did specifically, and it was when you're playing a character like that, you have to master the art of doing nothing but saying everything. Anthony Hopkins is the master at this, you know. But I felt like there were so many moments in that episode where just my eyes had to be saying so many different things. And because you're also working with the constraints of being a host, there's that other layer on top of it of this is also a machine, but this machine is also feeling things, and this machine has also been through 50 lifetimes and been a million different people and suffered so many injustices. And I think you just see all the parallels of where she's been, where she's going, where she's at now. I just feel like you got the full spectrum of Dolores in that episode, and it felt like a very subtle, quiet, complicated episode for her. I think that's why I picked it.
Yeah. You say you're a bit of a nerd with the show. What's the one thing you've been most confused by?
On the show?
Yeah, on Westworld, yeah. Or in life, but no, I'm thinking more the show.
Yeah, oh man. I can handle a lot of what they throw at me. One of my favorite things to do is go to work and be able to talk quantum physics with my boss. That's such an awesome part of my job. I still needed help with Ed Harris's storyline in season 2. I remember reading the finale and going to them and saying, "Oh my God, it was so amazing and complicated and wonderful and beautiful. What does this mean?" There's that kind of moment after the finale ends where there's the hidden scene with Ed Harris, and I did have to go to them for clarification. But I think that's sort of, there's a community around Westworld and these people that are dying to have these conversations and spout theories together and try to figure it out. You know, easy is kind of not fun. You want to be challenged, because when it does come to fruition or when you do figure it out, it's so satisfying. And I do love things like that. I love a good mystery.
We are hoping, we're trying to schedule a time with Jeffrey Wright at the moment. Do you have a good question for us to ask him?
Oh man, I mean, Jeffrey's, I love working with him and we have such intimate stuff together, and very quiet, subtle scenes. We call it dual meditation when we do scenes together because they're incredibly hypnotic. And Jeffrey just has one of those amazing qualities about him where he can snap in and out of it so quickly. And I don't know, I would ask him about, he probably gets asked this all the time, but his shifts between Arnold and Bernard, because when I was doing the first season with him, I didn't know this at the time, but all of my scenes were actually with Arnold and not Bernard. And then season 2, I got to do scenes with Bernard for the first time, but it was the same actor. And I knew Jeffrey Wright was such a great actor, but I didn't realize just how good until I did a scene with him and he was Bernard. And I noticed such a difference in energy and in mannerisms and in the way he spoke, the way he moved, that I was like, whoa, Jeffrey. He said, what? I said, that's the first time I've ever done a scene with Bernard. And oh my God, how are you doing this? Cool. It just seems so effortless. And I don't know, I'm wondering how much thought he puts into it, or if it just happens, if he just channels. Because I think, I don't know, for me, I have to really think about all the differences and try to implement them and then just sort of let it happen without thinking. So I'm wondering what his process is with that, because he's one of the only people I know on the show that is multiple characters.
Yeah. I'll ask him that. I'll ask him about the meditation too. Thank you so much, Evan, for talking to us today about Westworld and horses. Do you know when season 3 starts shooting? Do you know when you're going back to production?
I'm sure of an exact. It will be some time. You know, the show is a massive, so it takes a while to plan, but we can.
Yeah, okay. No dramas. Thanks so much, Evan.
Thank you so much.
Okay, we're done.